Welcome everyone, I hope you're having a very wonderful day and welcome to my guide for Bighorn sheep for Silver Ridge Peaks. Before we begin, I want to quickly break down on how today's guide is going to work. So our first section is going to be covering Bighorn locations, and then we're also going to be visiting a single hotspot in today's video. And then we're going to move on to weapon recommendations, where I'm going to recommend 5 of my favorite weapons to use on these guys. And then we're going to end today's video with the animal profile, which will have a custom map, time zones, and ammo chart, everything you need to make your hunting life 10 times easier. So let's get right into it with me opening up my map really quick, and we're just going to explain their general locations. So we're going to scroll down here to the Bend and Forest. We have this big old lake here with these 2 hotspots on it, and that is a location for bighorns. And just moving up just a little bit above that, excuse me, Mr. Turkey, I'm in the middle of something here. We have this road bending around this little lake. That is also another location where bighorns can reside. Anything to the right of these has 0 bighorns. This is all just the plains area, which will have pronghorn and bison. So that's going to be none of your interest going over there and checking for those guys. Now, everything above these 2 lakes is pretty much fair game. So the rest of this map up here is all fair game for bighorn. Other than this lake right here, for some reason, I have nothing other than just black bear that go to this lake. So I don't know what's up with it. But if you do have bighorn there, please let me know. I also want to point out down here in the bottom left, there is no bighorn. I don't even know what resides there. Every time I visit this lake, there's just been nothing there. So just want to point that out really quick. And then we're going to check out our hotspot of the day. So we're going to zoom in right over here to this lake that we're already at. We have about 4 zones of bighorn. We have one right here. We have another here. And we have another here and there. So we're going to pull our binoculars out really quick just so I can show you guys what this lake is packing. So we have a group of 3 over here with a beautiful level 4 that I have not taken out yet. And we also have another group of 3 here. I do want to mention that the highest amount of males that you will see within a group of bighorns is 3. You're either going to see 3, 2s, or 1s, and that's pretty much going to be it for those guys. They're pretty similar to the mountain goats, so you're only going to be taking one of these guys out at a time. If you do any more damage, you're going to remove those zones if they're in groups of 3. So just keep that in mind when you're out there hunting, and make sure whether they're singles or in trios. And that pretty much does it for all the information you need to know about these bighorn locations and all that other stuff. So we're going to move on to the weapon recommendations. So I will see you guys at the locker in just a moment. And here we are, folks, at the weapon locker. Before we begin, I want to quickly mention 3 things. First things first is I'm only going to be covering rifles, handguns, and shotguns. I'll not be covering bows because I'm not a bow expert, so I'll leave that professional. Secondly, these are just my personal recommendations. Favorites, I always say go out there and explore and see what suits you and what you enjoy playing with. And then lastly, I'll be mentioning all the deals these weapons come from in case you want to pick them up for yourself. So our first rifle today is one of my top 3 favorites in the game. The Malmer Semi-Magnum is a very fantastic rifle for this map in general, but it also does really well in these bighorns. It's just going to insta-drop them all the time, every day, no matter what. It's just a high-powered rifle. You have 3 rounds in the magazine. And as I said, you're only going to need 1 round because you're only going to be encountering groups of 1, 2s, and 3s, so you really won't need that follow-up shot. Overall, this is probably the best rifle when it comes to harvesting these animals. I really enjoy it a lot, so I just can't recommend it enough, and you can find it in the Hunter Power Pack. Moving on to our second rifle of the day, the Olsen Model 23-308 is another fantastic rifle, which comes from the same pack as that 7mm. It has 4 rounds in there. It's also a very accurate rifle and will also insta-drop these bighorns. I love this thing to death, and I prefer, honestly, over the semi-auto version. I don't know why. I just enjoy bolt actions a lot in this game, and this thing just does a fantastic job, and you can also find it in the Hunter Power Pack DLC. Speaking of the 308 semi-auto version, the Zarza 10-308 right here is a very fantastic rifle. It's got 5 rounds in the magazine. You can place the ultimate amount of follow-up shots with this bad boy. The recoil isn't that bad, and I highly recommend using it if you do not wish to use the bolt actions, and you can find this in the Modern Rifle Pack DLC. Moving on to handguns. You guys, if you have already seen a majority of my other hunting guide videos, you already know what I'm about to suggest here. The 4570 Jernberg Spear is the ultimate pistol in my opinion. It's pretty biased, even though this thing has a single shot in it. It's still probably the best pistol in the game, as you could put a rifle scope on it, which in my opinion just outshines all of the pistols. As you can have a higher zoom, this thing is just a beauty. It has that powerful 4570 round, and I highly recommend using it on these guys because it's very fun to use, and it helps level up your pistols a lot easier than all the others. So you can find this bad boy in the higher caliber weapon pack DLC. Moving on to our final weapon of the day. I kind of was back and forth between this because I didn't know what to recommend. I was going to recommend the drilling, but then I was like, nah, the buckshot doesn't do it. So then I was like, there's one shotgun in mind that does it. And we're going to scroll down right to it right here. The Norden 20 gauge Serviceman, or just the Norden in general, is a very phenomenal semi-auto shotgun. It does the job perfectly. The slugs are also very phenomenal to use on this thing on these guys. And you can find this bad boy in the Duck and Cover Pack DLC. Alright folks, that pretty much does it for the weapon recommendations. We're going to move on to the animal profile, so I will see you guys there in just a moment. And here we are, folks, at the end of today's video at our animal profile. Before we end it, I'm going to quickly do an animal profile breakdown. So let's begin on the left-hand side at all of our basic Bighorn sheep information. We have our class, difficulty, silver, gold, diamond threshold range. We have our weight from kilograms, 2 pounds from least to greatest. We have our fur types covering common and very rare. Moved on the center map, I pretty much covered a majority of this in the first section of the map, other than some other hotspots here. As you guys can see my mouse, this is the hotspot we're at today. We also have a hotspot to the left of it, to the right, below it at these double lakes down here, and then the gigantic lake in the center of the map. Moving on to the right hand side, we have all of our time zones here for you guys, and then below that we have our ammo chart for those full integrity kills. That pretty much does it for today's guide. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like. It really helps out the channel. And with that out of the way, folks, I hope you guys have a very wonderful day. Happy hunting, good luck, and I will see you guys in the next one.